All right, so here's an interesting one. Is imposter syndrome becoming more and more common? Is it me, or more and more people are experiencing imposter syndrome in all aspects of academia or even industry? I wonder why. Also, out of everyone experiencing imposter syndrome, surely some people actually are incompetent and inadequate for their current positions, right? How can we identify that's us? Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So let's look at this first comment here. Unpopular opinion warning, question mark. Imposter syndrome has become a bit of a buzzword and a badge of honor and has lost some of its meaning. That's probably true. I say this after going through a workshop with our CAPS department. I don't know what that means. Where they put forward this viewpoint. It is normal and healthy to have some self-doubt. It helps you grow as an individual. True imposter syndrome is where you continue to convince yourself that you are not capable or worthy despite evidence against this. Yeah, I guess that's important. Grad school is extremely hard and you are pushing yourself to the limits of your field and what is known. Your comment about those that are incompetent or inadequate would not fall into this category, as presumably they would not have evidence of their capability of success. Now, I don't agree with that, because there are people for sure who feel that they probably are not incompetent, right? And in their minds, they probably do have evidence against their incompetency, if we want to say it that way. But let's get back to the comment here. And I used to say all the time I had imposter syndrome. I think I truly did. I often attributed my success to luck or tricking my advisor and committee. I'd often feel shame and guilt after winning an award on receiving praise. This wasn't healthy. After some counseling and self-reflection, I am able to own my successes as evidence of my hard work and being deserved. I don't claim I have imposter syndrome anymore. Yeah, so that doesn't sound too bad. I agree with most of it. I think this is a sticking point, right? Because there are times, at least in my life, where I have been incompetent or not doing the job as well as I could have, and I thought I had evidence against that, right? I thought I had evidence saying that I was doing the job all right or even well. So I guess back to the big point. I think it is becoming, it is becoming more common, in my opinion. I think one of the issues we have, right, is that we see the successes of other people all around us all the time. Thanks to social media, especially. But also, it's just easier in general. I mean, I guess social media is the main culprit, at least in my mind, because you're seeing, the wins of everyone else, and you feel like you are not getting those wins, or if you are, you're just squeaking by, and it's not really representative of what you feel you're bringing to the job or who you are yourself. And that can be a big challenge, right? We want to feel like we're having an impact based on how we're feeling, or rather we want to feel like we're having an impact based on who we are and what we're doing, right? And if we feel like who we are is inadequate and what we're doing is not right, it totally plays into this imposter syndrome. I know I've had it in the past, especially in graduate school. I felt like I was surrounded by so many brilliant people. And I still kind of to this day, I don't feel like I'm brilliant. I feel like I've got a good set of skills that gets me through school well, and I'm relatively good at socialization and being empathetic. And again, those are skills, those are things that are positive, and I don't know why I feel like those are separate from what makes a good researcher or communicator or teacher, and those are, you know, through the core jobs of being a graduate student in sciences. But yeah, it's, you know, it's interesting. I feel like, you know, we all probably stumble. maybe this is it. When you're going at a higher level than what you've seen in the past, especially for people who may be first generation students, especially first generation graduate students, where they didn't have access to, you know, the same level of education, quote unquote, or at least their family hadn't, and so they weren't surrounded by that growing up. And then you're stepping into a new world where you feel like you should be that brilliant scientist who is able to stay up every night and research every night and remember every paper and every line and every fact. And I think it's just an improper, you know, it might come down to an improper understanding of what that role is, you know? And I think this post kind of nails it, right? Out of everyone experiencing imposter syndrome right now, surely some people are actually incompetent. I mean, yeah, probably are. But I think in my experience, you know, maybe I've been in relatively productive states and productive areas and productive fields. But I've run into very few people who are just truly not good at their job. Like maybe they're distracted. I know there's been parts of my life where I've had challenges with, you know, just having a baby, and so it's hard to stay up, hard to focus if I'm not sleeping well, getting into the office on time, things like that. Sure. And we all have things like that. Even, you know, I bring up my family, but like we all have items like that can play just as heavily or as much into our lives, and it doesn't have to be your family. So I overall, I think this post kind of nails something. You know, we're seeing it a lot. I think we're experiencing it a lot because we are surrounded by the experiences of other people all the time, no matter what, right? Like everyone's always on vacation, everyone's always getting married, everyone's always having a kid, everyone's always getting a promotion, everyone's always getting a raise. And those people who are, you know, in our mind, I don't think I'm not a psychologist, but I don't think our minds can separate all that quote unquote winning, right? Like I feel like we apply it to this homunculus of a person who's in our head, and they're always on vacation, always winning, always having kids, always getting married, always happy. And it's just not true. And then when we get an inkling of that kind of success, right, we feel like we're not this perfect person who does this all the time. We're undeserving. And I don't think that's correct. So, you know, what can we do? When we talk about imposter syndrome, I think, you know, this top post kind of nails it a little bit, despite the evidence against being capable and worthy. You're telling yourself that you're not. And there are certainly times where, you know, I've been part of some sort of program where I feel like, no, man, it's not great. I feel like I've been plucked out because I fit some kind of demographic or gap that they need to fill and cross off their list. And, you know, maybe that's partly true. I don't know, but, you know, how do we get over that? I think it's just developing a practice of when you do find a success in your life, really think about what led you there and really outline that evidence, right? I found, you know, writing out a resume and developing my resume really helps on that front, because I have these bullet points of things that I've actually accomplished or contributed towards. And when I see it out on paper, I can be like, oh, you know what? I did spend a full week developing that presentation, and it was great, and we knocked it out of the park, and we won that business. If you don't have it concrete like that on paper or listed out, it can be hard to really internalize, I think. And then I think another way to get around imposter syndrome, and you might struggle with it for a long time. I know I do still. But another way is to have, I hate saying mentor, because I'm really bad at having a mentor. I'm just not good at it. I'm someone who kind of just does stuff for myself unless I need help, and then I ask for help. But what I want to make sure happens is that, especially when I was working with the company, I had a boss who was, or at least one boss who knew what I was doing, and if they ever heard maybe complaints about my performance, they would bring it up to me, and we would chat about it, and then I could say, hey, I'm sorry, I kind of came in late the last few days. My baby's been up and just not sleeping at night. It's been hard to get back at work during the night and finish that out in a time, or I had to rush it, so I had these few mistakes, whatever. But having that person to actually talk to, who you feel comfortable, maybe not saying that, oh, I have imposter syndrome, this is so hard, unless you do have that relationship, that's cool. But more often than not, it's probably talking through what is actually happening, what's concrete, and when you're running to issues, talking about it. And hopefully that boss or mentor is equipped to help you navigate that space. And that is the value. That is a big value of having a good relationship with those people. So if I can leave you with anything, just understand that, it is common. This is very common. I think, especially when you're in a higher level professional position or academic position, you see all the people around you and you think they're brilliant, and they are. But right, you're the average of the people who you're surrounded by. So, know that you're probably one of those brilliant people too, even if you don't feel like it. And then also just keep track of the times you're winning. Keep track of the things that you're doing that help you feel better, and keep track of the things that you're achieving at work or in your personal life, and understand what attributes of your life or attributes or traits that you have make that possible, right? Because it is you. If you weren't there, the things wouldn't happen exactly the same way they did, and quite possibly would not have been nearly as good. And you left your thumbprint on a bunch of things, so make that known, right? Okay, so thank you so much for listening to this. I appreciate you, and I hope you're doing well. Keep nailing it.